Continuing our coverage of DACA and Trump's action to revoke it, our next guest is an organizer for Living United for Change in Arizona, or Lucha. She is also a DACA recipient herself, so the issue is very personal to her. Abril Gallardo is who I'm talking about, and she joins us now. Abril, thanks so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for the invite.
Oh, absolutely. And so, first of all, this announcement, did it catch you off guard?
The truth is that no, because since day one, when this with President Trump started running for office, that was part of his agenda. And so, although it was tiring, because since last week we started hearing rumors that the announcement was going to happen, and then not that day, and it was, we were kind of mentally and emotionally prepared. And at one point in my own opinion, it was like I just wanted it to happen and be done with it.
Yeah.
So it didn't catch me off guard. What it was really shocking, the language that they used to deliver this announcement. But at the same time, we know that throughout his campaign, that was the kind of language of hate and racism that they have been using. So it was hurtful, but not shocking.
Yeah, hurtful but not shocking is unfortunately, something I can understand. Now, you've been around, you've lived in this country your whole life. You've never lived anywhere else, I assume. Certainly were born here. What was it must have, first of all, it must have been the very opposite feeling when they fought over the DREAM Act. It lost by, as I recall, just a couple of votes, and then President Obama announced the Deferred action, the DACA program. That, by contrast, must have felt pretty good, I would think, right?
Well, I've been here since I was 12 years old, and yes, I have a little bit of memories about Mexico, which is where I'm from. But yes, it has been a long battle for immigrant youth here in this country, nationwide, but also locally here in Arizona. In a sense, I always tell people that after Election Day, the country woke up to the reality that Arizona has been living for so many years with people like Trump, our former governor, Jan Brewer, Russell Pierce, where the attacks on immigrant youth and immigrant communities, had always existed. And so, yeah.
So, let's talk about that for a second, because you're in Arizona. And, I think you said something important that I want to explore a little bit more, which is basically what you said was what the country is experiencing with the rise of Donald Trump as a candidate, and then with the presidency of Donald Trump and the forces that he's unleashed, is what you've been living through in Arizona for a long time. Is that what you mean? The rhetoric, the exclusionary thinking, the hostility, all of the hatefulness, is that what you're talking about? That what the rest of us are experiencing now is what's been going on in Arizona for years?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. And because of that, I feel that immigrant community, like myself, were sort of prepared mentally and emotionally to hear something like the DACA announcement, because we've been organizing for years. We've been fighting against these people who align to pretty much white supremacy and hate and racism. And so our community has built power and within Arizona. And now one thing that we focus and we hope is that the entire country doesn't let Arizona become their reality. And we know that we were able to fight back and win, even after all these attacks, it was only because of the power of organizing that we've been doing for so many years.
Well, and I want to talk about that more in a second, the organizing that you've been doing. What you've also had in Arizona, and again, we're talking with Abril Gallardo, who is an activist and DACA recipient in Arizona. What you've also had are people, well, the person I'm thinking of specifically, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who was really, and from what I've seen and heard, really treating the immigrant community as if you were running a police state. And, you know, he was finally found guilty of violating the law after many years of abuses. And now we have Donald Trump pardoning him. So does that mean, in your opinion, that we may be seeing that those kind of, even we've already seen horrific tactics used by ICE and others against immigrants? Does that mean you think that things could get even worse in terms of what I call police state type tactics?
Yes, so we've, you know, it was last year actually was part of the Basta Arpaio campaign, which is the campaign who led the efforts here in Arizona to unseat Joe Arpaio. And what I saw when we were walking and talking to people on the doors were people who had enough, people from both sides of the aisle. And in our view, or in my view, is when Trump decided to pardon someone who was guilty, who actually people die under his watch, who lacked to investigate sexual assault of children here in our state. But then a couple weeks after his administration comes out and takes in a way and calls all these horrible names to immigrant youth like myself, who are part of this country, who are part of this workforce. That's really sends a really loud and clear message that the goal for this administration is not within what the American people want, but it's exactly his own agenda that is driven by hate and by racism and honestly, like, aligning to white supremacists. So our community knows, and a pardon cannot erase what Joe Arpaio did in our communities. A pardon cannot erase also the fact that we, the people in Arizona, the people that he terrorized for so many years, were the ones who unseated him. And so for us, that's stronger, because while the nation woke up to a Trump, here in Arizona, we were able to raise the minimum wage. Here in Arizona, we were able to elect one of the first, you know, Latina mayors in Tolleson, and win and other local campaigns. And so we see that although the nation was going through all this, you know, reality, the community in Arizona, yes, it was in a sense, it felt like we were not in shock because of the results, and it gave us a little bit of anxiety, but at the same time we felt strong because we know the power that we've been building.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, you know, since unfortunately the entire country is moving into the reality that you guys have experienced for a long time, but since fortunately you've also had some success in turning that around, let's talk about what you guys are doing in Arizona, either with your organization, Lucha, or just in general. How did you get some of these results? And maybe you could tell us a little bit about what people are doing in Arizona that might be a model for the rest of the country.
Yes, so starting with people like myself, which I joined the movement in 2010 with the most racist law in the country. SB 1070 was passed in our state. Many people like myself who were students in high school, or just parents who were in the shadows perhaps, came out and say enough. And we made a choice to stay in our state, defend, and fight back. And it has taken us so many years, but through all these years, we have built a network in our neighborhoods that support each other. Organizations, immigrant rights organizations are stronger than ever because people are coming out and saying, we had enough. And so we are continuing to educate our communities on their rights. But more than that, it's preparing them to train and educate their own neighbors, right? We're going into churches. We're going into the schools. We have formed alliances with institutions who served our community and are now talking. So it's no longer a taboo about not talking about whether the people you serve are undocumented. We've seen, one of the largest districts here in Arizona, Phoenix Union High School districts, come up with an emergency plan for immigrant families. And so we've seen that although the more the anti-immigrant people, politicians target us, the more we organize, the more we resist, and the more we unite. And it is in moments like this that people come together, organize, and then we're able to win, protection for our families, even if it's at a local level. And then, we hope that, I feel like the entire nation has a choice right now, right? We have the choice as undocumented immigrants. We have the choice to stay where we are or run away, or we have the choice to come out and fight back. And I'm seeing over and over my community saying, it doesn't matter what happened, we're going to come out, we're going to fight back, and we know we can win.
Well, you're very brave, and I really appreciate your attitude. Now, as you look to the future of Abril, what do you feel? How are you feeling about things at this moment?
Yeah, since day one, and talking to my parents, I remember when the whole rumors about DACA ending last week started coming on float. I had a conversation with my parents, and my family is a family of faith, and I remember my dad telling me, you know what, DACA doesn't define who we are. A Social Security number doesn't define who we are. It is our faith, it is our family, it is our community who makes who we are. And so, yeah, DACA made things easier for y'all, but I know that we're going to continue to organize, we're going to continue to stick together, and we're going to be okay. And so if my family feels strong and is the one that is giving me that strength to continue to fight, we're going to continue to do that against the Trump administration, fight beyond DACA, because we know that even though, after April 2019, I might not be able to, according to this administration, I will not be able to renew my DACA, and I will not be able to have a Social Security. I know that immigrant youth, immigrant families are going to continue to thrive, and we're going to continue to live our dreams and not give up, right? And above all, continue to be united, which is something that this administration wants for us not to be united, and it's a message of division. And so, yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, we're going to cry, but we're going to wipe our tears. We're going to get up, and we're going to continue to protect each other.
So very well said. And where can people go to find more information on what you're doing or the issue in general?
Yes, they can visit our website, luchaaz.org. For the next month, we're going to be hosting DACA drives to help individuals renew their DACA, those who are still able to do that. So our office will be open for the community who can come and renew their DACAs here. But we're also fighting for economic justice. We're also fighting for to defend our public education and fight against mass incarceration. So we know that also right now in this pressing moment, our immigrant community is under attack. We know that this administration has targeted people of color, and we're going to continue to organize that. So they can find more information on our social media under Lucha, Lucha, Arizona, or visit our website, luchaaz.org.
All right. Well, listen, as you go ahead with your work, know that you have my support and love, and the support and love of many of our listeners as well. So Abril Gallardo of Living United for Change in America, thanks for your great work. Good luck, and thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.